Mobile is really great for all practices, whether or not the practice or providers see patients outside of the office. It's a great way for the providers to be able to view patient information on the go if they're not at their computer and have an emergency or even just something that they want to be able to take care of. And it's especially helpful for those who are completing patient rounding at the hospital or at the nursing home because they can quickly add their charges. By adding the charges while they're there instead of waiting back to get back to the office, it relieves them of the stress of having to keep track of a face sheet perhaps. It allows the billing turnaround time to be quicker and could relieve some of your office staff of having to find or track down those face sheets and be able to enter all of that patient information after the provider returns from the hospital or the nursing home. The application can be downloaded. It's for free from the Apple or Android application store. Settings are set up within your database and the providers have entered their passwords. They'll be able to sign in here. Now, when they sign in the first time, they'll have to sign in with their username and password. So I'm just putting in my provider's username and password now. And it will ask you that security question that your provider set up within their My Settings. Now, the first thing that I would do as a provider is go in and change that so I don't have to sign in with that full information every time. And I'm sorry if it's difficult to see, but it's at the very bottom, there's a solid dot, and then to the right of that, it's a gear. It kind of looks like the sun, actually. But if you click that, it will take you to your settings screen. And from here, the provider will need to set up their favorites, and they can activate that password. So we're just going to start at the top here. So activate favorites. They will want to have that checked off to be able to use favorites. Change passcode. This is where they'll be able to set up their passcode. As you can see, anytime you do anything else on your iPhone or Android device, you'll have to put in that passcode. And again, that's a little bit tedious and tiresome, but it's definitely better than entering your full username and password every time. This next section, the change image folder. So in eClinicalMobile, you can take photos of the patients that you have on your schedule, and they can either be uploaded into the chart documents folder, or if you select examination drawing, it will go straight into the examination section of the progress note. So email new telephone web encounter, email new lab, and email new message. Again, this is the place where the providers can indicate whether they want to receive those. It's just a carryover from the database. App notification. So this will take you to your general settings for the app on your iPhone, kind of like you have your general settings for your messages or for any sort of mobile application. But this is where you would enable the microphone, the camera, if you want Siri notifications to your phone, and cellular data, whether it can use cellular data or not when you're not on Wi-Fi. Now, the first two are really important, microphone and camera. The microphone will allow you to use the dictation software that's already built into your phone. So even though you may not use Scribe with the Dragon dictation in eClinicalWorks, you can use the microphone that changes your voice to text. And the camera, again, like I said, that's how you can take pictures for the patient if there's something that you need to take a picture of. Again, going back to eClinicalMobile, you do have to put in that passcode. Billing category, so auto-linking ICD to CPT, similar to my setting that you have in eClinicalWorks, you can automatically link whatever ICD code you put into mobile to the corresponding CPT codes. I would have that turned on. It's much easier to unlink a couple of things or maybe even one thing than it is to link everything. Activate ICD favorites. You'll want to have both ICD and CPT favorites turned on, and that will allow you to create your little short list of favorites. And adding ICD favorites and CPT favorites. So if you click into this section, it brings you to a smart search field where you can enter whatever ICD code you're looking for. So let's add something. And as you can see, it's a live search. So as soon as you start typing, it will pull codes for you. And to favorite them, all you have to do is click the star and it will add it to your list. And then closing out, click save, and you'll see that depression was added. Adding CPT favorites works the same way, so you can search for your CPT codes, whether it be an E&M or a different CPT code, and simply press the star and save it, and then you can see it would be added to my list here. Back to our settings, view logs. So this is only visible to the administrator, so to your providers, but they would be able to see the changes that were created in eClinicalMobile. It's limited in what you can view. You can see that who the patient was, test Candace, who the doctor was, Dr. Willis, and then where a change was made, but it won't tell you the specific change. And at the bottom, you have the version. You want to make sure that you're on the updated version all the time. You can rate the app, contact us. After you're done changing the settings, you'll want to click Save. And now we're on the home screen. From this home, you can see our main tabs here. So we have Schedule, Telephone and Web Encounters, Labs, Imaging, Prescription Refills, Charge Capture, Messages, and Review Progress Notes. Now, so Schedule will give you your schedule. The Telephone, Web Encounters, Labs, Imaging, Prescription Refills, and Review Progress Notes, and Messages actually, are just like your taskbar, your jelly beans within the database. So it's going to take you to the same list of assigned telephone encounters that you have. And from there, you can click into one. You can view the progress note. So this one was attached from the fax inbox. You can add an action, reassign it to a different user, or mark it as addressed. Back to our home screen at the bottom, and you can see at the bottom of this screen, once you get away from the home screen and into one of these sections, your bottom changes. So right now we have encounter, we have labs, we have refills, and we have charge captures, which is our rounding list. So any of these telephone, web encounters, labs, imaging, prescription refills, messages, or review progress notes, you can go into and address anytime, and they are the same as your jelly beans in the full database version. In the schedule, working our way into the schedule, I don't currently have any patients on my schedule. I'm going to add one here, and let's do that from the application so that I can show you how to do that. So from your home screen, if you need to add a patient to the schedule and they're already in your system, you can click this patient search bar at the bottom, and it's going to show you this screen. So you can put in the patient's last name, first name, phone number, date of birth, as much or as little information as you want here. I find that it works quicker if you can put in a little bit more information. And at the top, you'll want to make sure MF and unknown is male, female, and unknown. And our patient was found, so you select your patient, and it's going to take us to their hub. For right now, we're just going to go ahead and click Create Appointment, and I'll go through this hub with you in a second. And from there, you can go ahead and book that appointment. And now I'll have him on my schedule. All right, from your schedule with the patient, there are a few things you can do. So you'll see the camera, the little blue icon, and the camera would allow you to take a picture or upload a picture from your photo library and attach it to the patient's records. Again, what folder that goes into is dictated by your settings. It can either be put into chart documents or the actual examination section of the progress note. The icon on the right, the telephone, would allow you to call the patient via the number that's listed in their patient demographics. And then the third icon in the middle is the patient hub. There's also another icon that could be here. If you have scribe enabled, you'll have a microphone there as well where you can dictate for the patient. So if I click on the person, it's going to take us to our patient hub. At the top, you have the patient's general information, name, date of birth, age, phone number, address, their allergies, pharmacy, their primary care provider, their insurance. And at the bottom, you have a list. So you have encounters. This is important, and this is why I say mobile can really be useful to everyone, not just providers that maybe see patients in a nursing home or hospital, but it's useful because anytime you get into a patient, you can view their previous progress notes. So maybe you're away from your computer, but your patient called and had a question about their last visit, and you need to be able to address it. You can look at, and you can also fax that note out. Labs, so that's going to show you your history of patient labs. Medical summary will show you their medical history, medications, this full list all the way down through vitals, just like the medical summary in the database. E-prescription, so if you needed to prescribe a new prescription, this is where you could go. New charge capture, that's where you can start your charge capture for the day. So if you are making those hospital rounds or seeing patients in a nursing home, and you need to add those ICD and CPT codes, you would click there, and we're going to go through a full charge capture in detail. Create appointment, so if you need to add them to your schedule, if they're not already on it from the database. And at the bottom, you can order a new DI, new imaging, start a new telephone encounter, or order new labs. Now we're going to go through a whole charge capture. So to do so, you just click New Charge Capture, and it will open this screen. At the top, you'll see the patient's name. Next to it, you'll see the little thought bubble, and that's a general clinical note section. So this is where you could type any short notes that you wanted to. And again, you could even use your little microphone on your iPhone or Android device. Say the patient has had a fever of 102 for 3 days, and it would type that in. And you can see the note was added. Going back to our charge cap screen, you have the provider, the room number, and it says select facility. So what you'll need to do is click the pencil. If you want to add a room number, you can click there. Select facility, so you'll just need to start typing the facility, and it will add. And when you're done, click the pencil again and watch. It's very, it's not very apparent, but there's little lines that were around 2 and Mid-Missouri or Missouri Medical Consultants. See, and when you are done editing, they'll disappear. Admission date, service date, so the day you're actually providing the service. If you're entering old charges, you'll need to put those on the date that you were actually providing the service, and discharge date if the patient happens to be being discharged today or whenever they were. Selected codes is where our favorite list comes into play. The copy is to be able to copy from a previous patient's visit. So maybe I'm going to copy this ICD code. You would just click it and say copy, and it would add to that along with the CPT. If you need to add a new ICD code, you want to click this plus that's in line with ICD, and it will open your Add ICD screen. At the top, you can see that Smart Search can be enabled. You would search by assessment code up here, or by assessment name here. So this is where you could just type heart, and it would show you all of the different codes with heart in it. But also, it's already showing your short list of favorites. So if it's in your favorites list, all you have to do is click to add it, and it will add to your list. Now, the little green check mark that I have currently next to hypertension is indicating the primary reason for visit. So if the primary reason for this visit was anxiety, all you have to do is check that off instead. If you need to get rid of one of these codes, maybe you don't need it there or want it there, just click the minus sign. And I have it linked to the CPT, but if you click the minus sign, it will get rid of it. I'm going to go back and add one and indicate my primary code. And now we can add CPT. So the subsequent observation care, I added that when I copied, but you can also add new CPTs. So again, just like with ICDs, when you click CPT, it will open your favorites, and these are set up in the settings for the provider. And from here, you can click it to add, or you can search for a different code at the top. You can search by name as well. I'm going to type incision, and we'll have different incision CPT codes that come up. From there, you can select and add it. Now, this link, ours are already linked because we have that automatic ICD CPT linking turned on. But if you had that turned off, you would have to link them. And if you have it turned on, but you said the incision of the bile duct wasn't for hypertension or heart attack, you could just click the minus and it would get rid of them. If you click the little I next to a CPT code, it'll open up your modifiers, units, start and end dates, where you can make adjustments if needed. And click done. At the bottom is billing notes. So this is where you could indicate perhaps that you spent a certain amount of time with the patient that would get communicated to the billing team. And then at the bottom, you have add to rounding list. Now, if this is a patient that you're going to be seeing for the next couple of days, you would want to add them to your rounding list because that adds them to the short list on your home screen, which means that you wouldn't ever have to go to the patient's hub. It just saves you steps. And then you have save and done. So save is just going to save the note as it is now, your charge capture as it is now. Save and done means that it's going to be marked as done, just like in the database when you mark a note as done. And it will be carried into your out-of-office visits in your database. Now you cannot lock from the mobile application. You need to get back into the database to lock those notes, but I'm going to take you through that process as well. So save and done, charge capture information saved successfully, and this patient is now on my rounding list, which I will show you capture from here. This is going to take you to your complete rounding list of patients. So if you needed to add a new charge for patient Therese Test today, you can simply click on her name and it would take you to that same charge capture screen we just went through. In this list, you can also search by different facilities if you wanted to view all or a specific one. You could see incomplete charges. So these would be your charges that were marked as save, but not ever save and done. So they were never marked as done. And you could also search for a new patient here to add them to your rounding list, or you can create a new patient. And I'm going to do a new patient quickly so you can see that process. So all of the starred fields are required fields. And when you click add, that patient was created, and now you can do the charge capture for them. Okay, we're going to move back into the desktop application, into the eVersion, and I'm going to show you how those charges get carried over to the desktop. And remember, I indicated that you cannot lock a note from the mobile application, so you have to go into the out-of-office visit screen in your desktop version. So under practice and out-of-office visits, so there's our patient that we just fulfilled the charge capture on the mobile device. Now to complete all of the steps, you need to click on that patient name. And you can see the hypertension, the heart attack that we added, and the CPT codes. The notes would be on the Notes tab. And at the top, you have the provider, the facility, the place of service, room number if that was indicated on your mobile application, and the service and admission and discharge date. If any adjustments needed to be made, they could be made in this screen if you needed to add an ICD code or a CPT code that you forgot. If not, the last step for your out-of-office visit from your mobile device is to lock this note. So to do that, you simply need to click lock at the bottom left here, and it will ask you, you have noticed, oh, so one second, I'm just going to add one to make sure that that incision of bile ducts, since I deleted them on the mobile application, is assigned to an ICD code. And then lock, are you sure you want to lock the encounter, just like you get the warning in a full progress note, and you say yes. And now this note is locked. After the note is locked, you'll want to click view claim. And that's just to create the claim. So when you click that, you just say okay, and it will open the claim. Simply close out of it after that. And now you can see from this out-of-office visit screen that the note was locked. and it's complete. The other item I want to show you is when we created that patient from the mobile, they're not automatically put into the system. Similar to when a patient makes changes to their profile in Portal or on the kiosk, they just need to be confirmed. So to do that, you go to eClinicalMobile patient registration under your practice band. And this is my patient that I created in mobile, Test Alexa. And it will open up the information that I added on the phone. But from here, you can see in our database, it requires other fields that were not required on the mobile application. So responsible party, you'll want to add the patient's insurances. But the reason that the phone number is required on the mobile device is so that when the office manager or front desk staff or whoever is completing this patient information at the office, they'll be able to get a hold of the patient and ask them any sort of outstanding questions that the provider might not have had the time to get or been able to get when they were seeing them in the hospital or in the nursing home. After they're done, you would click OK. I'm just going to say cancel because I'm not filling out the required fields right now. And that's how you confirm and complete the patient registration.